We're like, trying to
We know
but
that,
it's
don't we?
something that always gets overlooked, and I'm like,
Yeah.
guys.
I'd argue that Theodore Herzl was was quite a proponent of how communism and capitalism. I've got certain views which you may find a bit odd, but I believe that certain elements of Zionism have propelled the Russian-Ukraine conflict and also this Middle East conflict, and they did the same thing in Iran and Iraq. If you watch a YouTube interview with a chap called A.B. Finkelstein, A.B.E. and Finkelstein, he actually tells how they're making the Muslim and Christian in particular come to loggerheads with each other, and whilst they're pocketing the shekels, and they put forward their new world order of new way of living, which will be contrary to God. You see, so as Muslims and Christians, it's very interesting. We believe in Christ's return. Now, Muslims and Christians make up half the world's population between themselves, so it's not something that anyone can dismiss as fanciful lunacy. So Christians believe in Christ's return, we believe in Christ's return. However, what we say is he'll clear up this confusion which lay about his persona, and then he'll establish peace and justice. So there's a very strong belief that everything we're witnessing here today is all in precipice for the coming of Christ. Yes, and how and when this will happen, it's all leading up to that. So a system is being set in place whereby, for example, the rave which took place in Israel, where we saw those missiles descending upon those individuals, you're going to think, okay, this is the values that we hold, and that just say Hamas is bombing these individuals, then that's not really it's not acceptable, because that's what they could well do to us if they ever got a position over here. But what that involves is often like you found out the other day, the accusation made that they were beheading children. So this is nonsense as well. And even within Hamas, for example, there is a divide amongst what steps we should take. Some would argue, we're desperate to just get the world. No one's going to ever listen. So what else are we supposed to do? Do we go into the sea and drown all of us? Or do we simply stand up and make a stand? Now, unfortunately, but it's not like the vicious inculcation of this Zionist hegemony on those innocent people, which obviously you'd agree with. So when I remember seeing like a number of years ago on YouTube, what would happen in the event when the Nazis would come over from Dunkirk into Dover and White? What would have happened? They were actually showing how the British had in various fields and various cliffs that they would have certain people ready to fight against, and by even giving their lives for this cause to defend these isles. So, to what extent do we observe what is deemed as acceptable and unacceptable? You see, so those people are desperate. Decades upon decades, we all have our little protests. What happens? Just withers away. They're probably looking at us having a laugh, thinking, is this all you can do? We'll be sitting on their tower or something, looking down and thinking, is that all you got? There's nothing you could do. So, but now, because I believe that decades and decades of protests, that they serve no purpose, but there's some change taking place. Why would Suella Braverman, for example, you know what she's done?
I think the reason she's doing what she's doing is just because leaning back. Well, one, I think basically fundamentally, the Tories are doing so badly in the polls. They're now just trying to do a salt the earth. Yeah. They're trying to fuck the country so that whoever comes to power cannot fix it. And therefore, when they have a chance in 5 years, they can they just haven't fixed this. They haven't fixed this, and use it as a mud throwing exercise. That's why I think she's doing these disgusting policies. That's why I think she's leading with this vicious rhetoric, because she knows that in 5 years' time, what she said would have been forgotten because people will be focused on what Labour's not done in their time in power, because the Tories have got away with salting the earth. Yeah. So that's my thought.
I mean, what we've got to understand, these ministers and these government officials, how do they form their policy? Who's behind them? They're just like the mouthpiece of whatever they're going to say. But
I think the people behind them is corporations and money.
Yes, corporations and money. That's but there are also certain individuals who take a kick in not just control, but in doing things like beyond the entertainment that they get. So, for example, they may have extreme wealth. Boredom sets in. But they then delve, and this is going to sound crazy to you, but which is what we understand. They'll delve into the supernatural. You know, I remember seeing 1971, 1973 Scars of Dracula, which on the first people was going to say it's a slapstick type of Dracula like a commentary. What it shows is that how this particular figure, who is being chased by women, and then these same women, they bring forth elderly policy-making Englishmen. What's that from? 1973 Dracula, scarred with Christopher Lee. The subliminal messages there are very tantamount to what is happening here today as well, you see. I've got a thorough understanding of this, not just based upon a religiosity, but understanding what these events are that are occurring. So what they showed there is these policy-making individuals, they're politicians or judges, who come under the grip of these, for example, female clerks in court. Did you know the power that they have over judges and lawyers would astonish you? After a hard day's work in Holborn, they probably say, let me tell you something, you've got so much ability to form society, I can entertain you in such a way that you will never find it comprehensible. So they'll take them out to seances where they will delve in the supernatural. And so there's a Satan as well, there's an evil force out there as well. Now, it may sound so, for a lot of people, just fairy stories. So what we say then is that this is indeed. So this is what we say then, that these individuals, they are now, because they don't get kicked out of normal wealth, then what they want is something else. So there is an evil force at work which is propelling us into another dimension, and that dimension would be to lead a life contrary to what God wants. And those who stand in their way, in the Game of Thrones, there's a lady who descends on the, I can't remember her name, I think it's Helen Mirren if I'm not mistaken. She descends on the pulpit, and she says the following: anyone stands in our way, we will defeat them. Or if you look at before a cricket tournament about 6 years ago, men's tournament finished, it was a women's tournament, and on Sky had them advertising out the following: it's now our turn. Yep, all right, it's your turn for the tournament. But there are subliminal messages that they give to us that we're going to, what I mentioned earlier about women's dominance. How, for example, what happened with, and I'm jumping from all over, but I'm just giving you a little...
With women's dominance though, because I think it's more that it might feel like dominance if, like, previously men had more power.
Upper hand, yes.
And that upper hand is like starting to even out a bit. I wouldn't say women.
No, I think in matrimonial affairs, for example, just say you have 2 children, or just say 3 children.
Yeah.
In the event of a divorce, in 1989 they repealed the Children's Act, section 2.8, which stated that the natural guardian of the family is the father. That was repealed. And by the way, they had a very interesting documentary serialization on ITV called Stolen, in which a mixed race marriage between a Pakistani guy and an English woman takes place, and they have a child and or 2 children, and those children are then stolen by the father after they end up divorcing, and he takes them back to Pakistan, and the English mother is then fretfully trying to get her daughter back, just to give the public the impression that this is and it sounded very much when the Children's Act was repealed as well. So then what happened? There are subsequent other things which I could talk to you relentlessly about, but then what's happened is systematically, as generations have decades have proceeded, they have now not just leveled the playing field, they've usurped. So that example that I've given, in the event of a divorce taking place, the woman will walk away with 90% of the estate. So if you're married, you've got 3 children, the law will automatically assume that the children will be with the mother. That's just a given. There wouldn't be any, where will the children go? It'll be just a given. And with that, you lose everything. And that, if you want to see your children, it's up to the mother. If you're fortunate enough to have 2 weeks or once every month, you can see your kids for a couple of days. Yeah. If you go knocking on the door, even though you've got a court order to see them, they don't enforce it. Women are now dominating matrimonial affairs. This is why we've got organisations called Families Needs Fathers, Fathers for Justice. So when they do supposedly crazy things by dressing as superhuman and go on these buildings, the media, which is always
it's a good way of grabbing that.
Yeah, so they vilify them as extremists. It's because they've got nowhere seeing their kids, and the court, the family structure of the courts, so esoteric. These very same judges, which I gave an example of that 1973 film Dracula, they're the ones who take a kick out of doing things which are by placing another system in place. You see, that system would be to doing everything contrary to God. So I know I may be rambling a little bit because we've spoken about so many things, and if I was to speak in depth about it, we were sat down, it would really make your eyes look up. But so we believe this is all a part of this. So look at the rush of the Americans and the British to get their warships out to the Red Sea. I mean, just so that they can put pressure on the Hamas to blow them to smithereens. I mean, why won't they do that when, for example, the Iraq War, when that happened? They knew he never had match, but yet they did it. Yet everyone keeps quiet. How can you trust the government?
We can't. And but again, I think for me, it all comes back to the fact that there's so much money in this. It's a fucking business for Western nations, and that's a fundamental problem. And it shouldn't be a it shouldn't be a business. Western countries shouldn't be able to go into business eradicating anyone else in the world. No one has that right. It's disgusting that we do it, and that's why.
That's it. But people need to know. So those people say, "Oh, you foreigners coming in and taking out our country." Well, you need to know the foreigners have been put in this because of policies through history.
So many people. Like, if you're bombing Iraq, if you're bombing Afghanistan, people who live there need somewhere to go. We fucked up those countries. It's our responsibility to take those people in. That's why, Suella Braverman is frankly so fucking evil, because she's threw open the doors for a load of Ukrainian refugees who are white, but she's going to do nothing for Palestinians, nothing for Afghanis, nothing for Iraqis, nothing for Libyans. It's disgusting. It's racist.
There's another thing. There's another thing which I would say which would be very interesting if you've got time. Yeah. You know, the system in place is actually trying to crush racism. There's a game behind it, but it will take some time to explain. When I mentioned to you earlier, there's a reason why I mentioned it, like the Englishmen disappearing from many areas of London. This has also been propelled by the Zionist movement. They actually, I have to sit down and explain it to you, and it's lengthy, but they are seeking to crush racism for a particular purpose. These are to do with end-time scenarios again. This is why I've asked you to watch that 1983 film. If you watch it with Trading Places, do you know the content of that film?
I've not seen it, no.
But it's a very famous comedy film in 1983.
It's one of those ones that I've always seen it been like, nah, I can't bother to watch
that. You can't. But it's telling what that film is happening now. Is that, for example, the disintegration of the indigenous Englishmen. That's what they're trying to do, and they're trying to bring a new world order where everyone is equal, hence why they're trying to crush racism in sport, in every field of life, so that we can all come under the banner of acceptance of their new world moral order, which is what George W. Bush basically, you're either with us or you're against us, meaning one world order. And that world order inculcates things which would on the surface appear to be very brilliant, like the crushing of racism. Fantastic. But the Zionists who are actually propelling this are doing it for a reason. And that reason is to do with Islamic eschatology, end-time scenarios, what future plans that they've got for destruction, involving people who will be half English and half coloured. This is how eschatology teaches us that. If you look at the streets of London particularly, you see how... If you look at TV advertisements, who are the main proponents of selling products? Which ethnicity or person have you observed? Do you watch TV advertisements?
Not really, I don't really watch them.
Very telling. Just watch the TV advertisements. The mixed race person. The mixed race person has now become the face of Britain.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, trust me. All you got is observe. It's done a deep study of this, you see. A thorough and deep study. That's why I asked you to watch that 1973 film, The Omen 1. And if anyone wants to ever, have a chat about it, I can really tell you how they plot and plan in regards to... But in regards to this particular point, I just want to wrap up about the women's thing. So it's not a matter of giving women their due rights. Islam, for example, gives them that due rights. 1400 years ago, where amongst Christians, they didn't even believe women had a soul. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, came and gave them rights to inheritance, rights to divorce, so many extraordinary rights that the pagan Arabs to whom he came, they thought, what's he doing? He's giving everything to women. That's why they were furious. I'm not sure if you know his life story. Yeah. So this is all fundamental, you see, because all this is, my friend, it's all to do with these end times. As an atheist, you find it probably too. I'm speaking very quickly first of all, and it will take like a sit down of about a few hours to explain. But I think the way you seem like a very reasonable person, it'll make sense to you. What I'm saying to you, go home, watch TV advertisements. That's all you got to do. And observe how the face of everything is now changing. It's been done for a reason as well. I'll explain that over time.
All right.
Delighted
Pleasure,
speaking
mate.
to you. You're a good guy you
All
are.
the
May
best.
God bless you.
Yeah,
And
all
give
the
you the
best,
right.
man.
Okay, take care of yourself.
Yeah, look after yourself.
And yourself.
All the best.
Very nice conversation with our friend over here who listened attentively. Sometimes,
Yeah, because basically,
so some,
I mean, it's not lost.
yeah. Let's go closer in. So sometimes in these conversations, when things develop, then we touch on a lot of points. I'm very eager one day to explain to the people what this, what is Zionism is all about, how it affects the Englishman even, how it affects the average Joe, what are their plots and plans. It's all there in Islamic eschatology. Women today think that they are being liberated in society, but they're not. All they're doing is a figure of sexualization. And men, for example, suffering in matrimonial affairs, but they can't see their children as a result of the policies that have been inculcated by this Zionistic system that we're living in, a system which is contrary to our Creator and contrary to God. And I think more and more people are realizing this. Thus, people like Suella Braverman are not so brave, can we just say. She's just doing actions which have been propelled to her and proposed to her, and hence she's making protests like this illegal. I mean, it's absolutely madness. So these are things that people are standing up for, and the officials and governmental. I mean, even me saying this is a danger to myself. So even if I was speaking about this, they could easily frame you and corner you. And this is what the police do regularly as well. With people who have had issues with the police, how they bend things around. So I would strongly recommend and suggest to people that they continue with these protests, make people aware that the tragedy taking place in Palestine is something which is incomprehensible, beyond human understanding that such actions can happen. And I think this is really coming all over the world, and this needs to carry on. It simply can't be like the previous protests of a year or two or 5-10 years ago. This has to be relentless. So we need to make people aware, the government's aware, this is not going to be acceptable. And they're going to ignore us, they're going to ignore us. They're simply going to go ahead and carry on with their bombardment because they've got other vested interests. But the people are awakening, I think, and this is very important. And everyone has to take a little bit of a risk sometimes. Me, even speaking about this issue, this could be a problem for me. But you never know how the system works, you see. If you speak against the system, it will come down upon you. So this is something that we just have to speak about. It's the truth. So may Allah guide this particular young man who I spoke to. And
so we make them listen.
and we carry on. Well done, Ryan. Ryan, our friend here who appears in many videos, made an excellent point. We carry on until we make them listen. Let's see if they will listen. Some people would say it's somewhat doubtful, but there is an inkling now that they're feeling the pressure. Hence, they're trying to ban these protests. May Allah guide us all. Assalamu alaikum.
Who is it? FOA channel?
Pardon?
Who is it?
It's a Dawah. It's an Islamic channel called Dawah to Soul, owned by this brother over here.
Okay.
So what we'll do, give you an opportunity for you, I'm assuming it is an Englishman, if I'm not mistaken. Scottish.
Don't make that mistake.
I won't make
please.
that. I beg your pardon. Currently taking place in Palestine, and the destruction and mayhem taking place there.
I feel horror and physical sickness, to be honest. I've been uneasy about the reports I've been hearing from Palestine. The sort of untrammeled barbarism that's coming out of the Israelis is beyond anything we've heard before. And it sickens me to the core that my elected officials, the British politicians, are not speaking out clearly for humanitarian values and international law, something we hear a great deal about when it's convenient for them. So those are my overall feelings of the current situation.
Fantastic. And what do you feel about those who say that things such as protests serve no real end product, in the sense that they're going to do as they want, the powers that be will do what they want, and they're looking down at us, giggling, you're worthless, you don't have any value. We'll allow you to do what we will allow you to do. But anything beyond that, we'll give you, we'll put you straight.
They may still continue on their barbarous ways, but they cannot say they have not been called out on their actions.
Excellent.
We will bear witness to what's going on.
Very good.
And no one thereafter will say, well, nobody did anything, nobody said anything. But we're saying something, and we're saying something now.
Fantastic. These are all fundamental points for our audience to observe. As our friend here, Scotsman, passionately coming out, looking at defending the rights. It's simply as a human being he's looking out. So we should be extremely grateful to these people who've come out, given their time, given their energy, rather than people who are quite prone to criticizing these people, even amongst Muslim communities. And this is very sad to see. So for me, I would give you a salute, and I hope that, Allah, we believe we have strong Muslims, but we still believe that may our Creator guide you as well into accepting our Creator. I haven't already asked you about your beliefs. I don't want to, relentlessly ask these questions. But so these are fantastic points to say that we're all human beings and that we feel the pain of these people, and that as Muslims we should be, inculcating and bringing to the indigenous masses, because the people don't know what's going on. Our good friend here is well informed, but if we don't know if the indigenous masses don't know what's going on, then how are we really going to make a change? It's only when this happens. But now there is perhaps a slight notion, would you accept, that with Suella Braverman in particular, trying to stop these protests taking place, something has irked the system in place to show, well, no, these things can have an effect.
Yes, I mean they're not unchallenged. They're not able to just ride roughshod and say there is no opposition. There is opposition, and you'll see it on the streets today, and you'll see it on social media and in other places. So there is considerable pushback against this inhuman narrative of Braverman and the other, who frankly are all, I consider them all now war criminals.
Yeah.
We are ruled over by a gang of war criminals, and the sooner people realise that and take action in how they vote and being politically active, the better for all of us.
Fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. And like I said, the way forward is to bring to everyone's attention these discrepancies, these hypocrisies, these, the way the system is. It stinks to high heaven, and it needs to change for the sake of humanity as well and decency. So I really appreciate your time and your sentiments, and we believe may our Creator guide you. Thank you so much. Delighted speaking to you.
Not at all.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So another very pleasant conversation with our Scots friend who's taken his time to do something to acknowledge people's cause. So may Allah guide him, inshallah. Make dua for him. This is a very well attended meeting, may Allah guide everyone over here as well, and give them the strength within, the conviction to say if something is wrong, it's wrong by the decree of our Creator as well. So we have to all come together as humans, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. In Oxford Circus, in the heart of London, that people are coming out in their droves to protest against the evil acts that is being committed against the innocent Palestinian people who are dying and who are being killed in their multitudes. People are very keen, of all different walks of life, to really represent and express their feelings and make our leaders aware as well that this is not acceptable. You can carry on bringing your ships off to the Red Sea or wherever you're taking them. Point is, people are not happy with that. Indiscriminate killing of those innocent people, you've got to have a heart, for Pete's sake. People go on and on about humanitarianism, but where is the humanitarianism here? So where is the humanitarianism here? Humanitarianism here is essentially that there is no humanity until we say so. People here generally do not agree with this. This is very, very clear. You can see so different nationalities, different walks of life coming forward to express their frustration, their upset, their disregard for the acts of such people. So we need to make our leaders aware that you can't just simply put ships off to bomb those innocent people, and whilst you're going to protect the state of Israel under all pretexts and illegally occupy people's lands, for Pete's sake. If anyone goes in your house for 5 seconds and says, I'm taking over, you're going to give him the what for. So we need to be able to have good values. So if the Western governments truly want a peaceful coexistence with everyone, then they have to indeed themselves inculcate these matters and make things fair as possible. Good afternoon to you, madam. Am I able to bring you out of this for one moment to appear on our channel to express how you, in solidarity with this march, how you're feeling about the events that have occurred and why you feel it's so important that we all come together to try to make the world's attention palatable, that what is happening there is unacceptable? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I came especially today to show, my government as well that, I don't agree with supporting the state of Israel. It's a state of apartheid. They're, breaking all sorts of, what do you call it?
International laws and
international laws.
Yeah.
What is happening is devastating. My heart is crying out for all the innocent people in Palestine
bless you.
who are suffering right now. They've been cut off from any human rights, water, food, electricity, any sort of medical aid. It's really distressing, it's really upsetting, and I hope, our government, English government, America are going to wake up and are going to tell Israel to stop this genocide, basically.
I could not have expressed that better myself. Really, thank you. You can please carry on with your talk. Thank you so much. Very pleasant comment from this very nice lady who has that apathy. She's got up, she's come to it when she could be doing so many other things, and just making people aware that this is unacceptable, what is happening. So the governments need to wake up. They need to wake up. Good afternoon to you, madam. May I take you out of for one moment so you can appear, just so that we want to ask. Oh, you lost your voice. Oh, bless you. Okay. It brought you to come out to the public attention, the events that are happening in Palestine. What do you feel? I mean, how do you wish to express your sentiments?
Obviously, it's atrocious what's been going on. Just seriously angry that not a single person in the British government are standing up against how Palestinian people are being treated and how they're locked in, and it's devastating.
Devastating. And what about, how do you feel about the warships gone off to Israel currently to supposedly defend Israeli positions?
I think all the rhetoric around it and all the support is horrendous, and no one's talking about the reality of the situation, and it's horrific. That's what.
Thank you for your time. Very strong comments. People are very much angry, people are upset, people are criticising the governments for not doing enough to stop this and looking at the reality, the brutal reality of the siege of the Palestinians, you see. The whole narrative is of oppression of the Israelis. And no one condones any type of harm on any innocent individual, whether they are Israeli or Palestinian. But the level of hypocrisy being here is definitively mind-blowing. That the suffering of those innocent children in particular, women, elderly, it's just beyond belief. And people are really fuming. So, I'm of the personal belief, these protests need to be relentless, day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out. Only then perhaps the governments will look.
You should have gone down there before.
Yeah. So it's still nice because we're near the station as well, so when it becomes quiet we can go, inshallah, as well. That's the Israeli committee, you see. They're probably agents of the system, you see. Yeah, they are, brother. Well, that's what they do. I'll explain to you.
Young man, now we targeted the young man, young couple there.
Okay. Which young man? This one. This one. Hey, my friend Adrian, may I have one moment of your time whilst you're participating in this march? We've got a YouTube channel which...
Hands up Alaska. He's Muslim down there.
Muslim, what's a Muslim here as well?
This guy, he wears glasses. Maybe non-Muslim. I think he's the
Yeah, no, it's not. Probably not. Why don't you go around, distribute all these leaflets out? People are come on, bro. Just walk around and distribute it. Come on, bro. This is an opportunity. Go around, jump in the crowd, and just give this out. Let's see, bro. If you go in the crowd, just give this out. These leaflets as well. Just the system in place doesn't want your happiness, doesn't want your contentment. They want to subdue you. And that's a brutal fact. So it's a merciless world, and the people at the top are the merciless ones. That's a given. Everybody knows this. You feel it was incumbent upon you to come out this Saturday afternoon to march against the war crimes being committed?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I've been campaigning for Palestine for many, many years, for about 30 or 40 years, you know. And this is, in some ways, this is the culmination of it, isn't it? You know, they're really going for it now. They're going to try and kill as many as they can. And it's absolutely obligatory that we get as many, you know, huge movement. We need a huge movement.
Absolutely.
So that's why I'm here, basically.
Fantastic. I think the pressure is being felt somewhat. That is why people like Suella Braverman are trying to cut off protests.
Well, I think she hasn't got a hope, unless she wants to cause, you know, military crackdown or something. But this is just provoking more people to come out because it's outrageous.
Fantastic. Very poignant points, and we appreciate you coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care of yourselves. So people are understanding that more and more people are coming out, you see. It can't be just the usual demonstrators. It needs to become widespread. People need to go in their communities and speak about these things. It cannot simply be an individual or two who attends and brings these things to people's attentions. It needs to be relentless. We need to have protest upon protest, week upon week, month upon month, day upon day. I've got that big surround. But anyway, that's what we need.
I'm totally PhD in philosophy. I'm totally into earth religions and earth goddess and everything. So I'm not traditional. I'm just going to keep walking.
Indeed. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you. Take care. No idol, no statue. Unlike his creation, independent by necessity, beyond the universe, not contingent upon
Not
anything.
beyond the universe. So
Beyond-
I'm a scientist.
Okay, excellent.
The rules of science, the laws of physics,
Yes.
that structure, whatever comes from that, wherever that's come from, that to me is a God.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't relate it to anything to do with humanity.
So obviously, science does not delve in it only looks at the empirical side of things. It can't really delve into the philosophy of science, which becomes
It's all about what you can know.
it's the empirically observable. But what we can say, as a man of science, that and there's an assumption on my part that you believe that the universe came into existence.
No, we can't know. I can't know that much.
You can't know that much.
And if you can't know it, then it is a matter of belief, and then that's where I step out.
So you think there's a possibility of an eternal universe?
Potentially, yeah.
So that would be akin to saying that a mother gives birth to herself.
Maybe, yeah. But you can't equate the universe with a human.
But wouldn't that be definitively somewhat contradictory? That a mother could give birth to herself?
If we were talking about humans, yeah.
Right.
And in any case, in your situation,
Yeah.
where would you explain where the origin of the mother?
So what we would say, I've given that as an analogy. My understanding was to relate to you the plausibility of a creator and why that makes more sense. Why so? Because definitively, a universe from nothing would make no sense. Because by definition, the universe, nothing by definition, is the absence of everything and anything. Hence, that becomes somewhat fallacious to even contemplate such an idea. The second understanding, did the universe create itself? Which is the analogy which I've given, like a mother gives birth, a singular mother gives birth to
You're
herself.
saying it's not, it's a nonsensical...
Yeah, nonsensical,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So instead it has to come from something else.
yes, in essence, something has to come from something else. Which
But there's still no answer there, right? Because you're still left with the same idea of where did that something else come from?
precisely, but what we say that's something that all prevailing
It was always there.
was always there. Why do we say that?
Yeah.
Because we look at a process of elimination. A universe from nothing against a universe which created itself against an eternal universe, or the only other possibility that something initiated the universe. So if we are to take the understanding of present-day science that the universe came into existence some 13.8 billion years ago, what you would have to accept unilaterally is that the universe had a beginning and a miracle supernatural event has occurred.
Okay, I agree. So this is where I step out of holding a viewpoint. Because my options are believe something came out of nothing, or believe something has always existed. They are equally nonsensical to me because they don't fit into anything that we really understand.
Well, either or has to be true, as Sherlock Holmes once said. So they can't be nonsensical then.
Maybe. I think something nonsense can still be true, but they're both very hard to believe.
But what I'm saying, then we weigh the probabilities. We look at the scale factor.
Right.
So what we observe then essentially is the analogy of something from nothing definitively would be totally and utterly contradictory. Whereas something which has always existed, a primordial, independent being, unlike his creation, not contingent upon anything. The universe we know, as you would know as being a scientist, is contingent upon parts.
So maybe. I mean, there are a few instances in physics where we have observed things apparently coming out of nothing.
You mean particles?
Yeah. So if you can only perceive things in 3 dimensions and you have something which moves in 4 dimensions, you might only see it appear and disappear. When in actual fact it's just travelling through the dimensions that you can observe. It's travelling in its own set.
I think you're arguing Lawrence Krauss's argument.
What's that?
Like nothing could have existed, when what he's essentially saying
honest,
that it's something. So even those particles,
even in
which
those cases, those particles have existed from somewhere else.
Exactly. Well said. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but at this point, unless you can also choose not to believe, right? You say we have these 2 options, has to be one of them, and you can also choose to be like, well, unless I have any evidence, I'm going to sit back and only believe in what I can observe.
Well, I did find it interesting, your previous comment, in which what we've observed essentially is that particles, there was something there already which initiated those particles coming. So that, yes, potentially. So it couldn't have popped out of nothing because there was already those prerequisite quantum fields already in place which enabled that particles to pop in and out of existence, the various gravitational pulls and pressures. So therefore, you see why we as theists are saying there has to be something which has to be independent, and this being in itself has to definitively be beyond the universe and being the very source of where the universal laws come from. What's the alternative otherwise?
I don't know about that last step, about being independent of where the universal laws come from. For me, the universal laws are the things that have always existed. Those are the divine rules of which everything is built upon. So
divine rules.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's divinity. To me, is like absolute truth. So things that regardless of who's looking at them or how you're measuring them, they're always the same. That's absolute truth. That to me is how I define divine.
So what you're then saying, these entities or these energies, however you want to term them, they are themselves conscious and have a will.
No.
Because this, what you're saying is in effect going back to the analogy of of nothing occurring.
Consciousness and will is not conducive with physical laws, really. Physical laws are completely determinant on the laws. Like, there's no point where the physical laws choose, maybe I'll do this or that. That's where the consciousness and choice comes into it. But that's the complete opposite of physical laws.
So when they don't choose, hence the only real option then is they are going according to a regimented system, which is going in a particular methodology.
Yeah.
And hence, that could only
Where
then...
does that come from?
So
I
that,
mean,
again, this is where we're coming on
it's
to
true,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
a creator,
Yeah.
by definition then, would be that which is the prevailing entity, which makes everything go according to that grounded clockwork. I'd like to
I
see
don't
what
know,
is the
maybe.
other possibility there is.
Well, I mean, I don't see why a creator needs to make those laws, and then you say, well, the creator is the thing that's always existed. Or you can say, oh, it's just the laws that have always existed, and there's no creator.
And I think it's paradoxical, because the initial point you made was that the creator himself would be the source of that energy. Otherwise, where do we go to then? What would be that source of energy then?
That brought about the physical laws.
Yes.
I mean, who's to say that they needed a creator, right? This was your original argument.
Yeah, absolutely. So
you don't necessarily have to say something came from something else.
But you see, what we're saying is something which is so humongous as the universe, it would have, by necessity, required something which is eternal and thus the source of everything. And it must have required a will, because what's the other explanation? A universe from nothing. We're going back to those circular arguments, but essentially a universe from nothing. There's no other option. So that's too preposterous.
I think I take your point on something being more likely to have always existed than being created from itself.
Good.
I don't think it's a quite a big step to go into thinking about will and a conscious creator. That's a whole other step for me.
But I think
I mean, when it comes to humanity's religions, like, I find them a lot easier to agree and take in, and I can get on board with a lot of things if I translate some, and make it less about man and human. And like when you talk about God, I can agree with a lot of the things you say if I think about that God as being the physical laws and blah blah blah. So yeah, it's good to think about. I'll have a read as well and see if it can align with some of the
and
things
just a final comment. Can I just ask you what has compelled you to come out on a Saturday afternoon to have it? We all know the answer, but
Truth.
just like your perspective.
It's truth.
It's
yeah,
the truth.
That's for me. That's ultimate truth is the most important thing. And I mean, sadly, genocides happen all over the world. Innocent people get killed all over the world. It's happening in Gaza, happening in Palestine. That's sad. That's not even the main reason I'm here. The main reason I'm here is just not reported on properly. The general public don't understand the situation.
Very interesting perspective.
Don't know about the Balfour Declaration. Don't know about 1947. And I think if everyone knew the absolute truth,
good.
then there'd be a lot more peace in the world. So.
Obviously, you're a well-educated person, so you're going to have that. So it's incumbent upon yourself to propagate this.
Yes, absolutely.
So you've done fabulously to come out here to protest, but let's get knowledge imparted to the people. And I think slowly it's coming out now.
I think so. And like, look around, you see how diverse the crowd is. And,
fantastic.
I mean, can only give you a bit of hope anyway.
Fantastic. You're a gentleman. Thank you. Take care. Have a great day. Thank you. Fabulous conversation there with our very pleasant scientist friend who spoke many fantastic, sensible things. There was some acceptance on his part of the possibility of a creator, and he made very telling comments. He actually said the reason why he's come out here is specifically to that people don't realise these things, such as the Balfour Declaration of 1917. How the Palestinians were screwed up by the British. The very same person who was the Prime Minister of this country, Theresa May, who came out in Parliament to blatantly say we're proud of the Balfour Declaration, the very declaration that has stuffed Palestine for the last 100 nearly years. Thank you, John.